When you go to a camping spot or a hiking spot and you want to experience the trail, you want to go out, you find a spot to camp in the woods, or you find a trail you're going to go hike on, it's a new experience. You're going to become a better person because you're going on a hike. Maybe you're going there with a family member and you're going to have some time together in the woods on a hiking trail. So you get to bond, you know, you're going to come out a better person because you went on this little hiking trail. But also you're going to go out into this hiking trail and hopefully you're going to leave this hiking trail better than you found it, or at least in the same condition as you found it. Hopefully you're not going to go out there and litter. Hopefully you're not going to go out there. None of us want to be that person who dumps their old mattress in the woods, or you find somebody takes their pickup truck or their sedan and has an old tire in the trunk. They drive out to this spot in the woods and they toss the tire out of the, into the woods. You don't want to be that person, right? I hope I'm not talking to that person, because if I am right now, that's a degree of human being that I don't think anybody really wants to be, and we shouldn't be. We all need to make sure that when we go out into the wilderness, we leave it better than we found it. We at least don't make it worse than we found it by throwing a lit match out the window and burning it down, right? So we got to treat the rest of the world like that, right? When we meet another person, we would hope that we don't go to that person and, to use as a metaphor, don't throw a match into the woods and make that person, don't burn that person's life down, right? We got to be that way with our kids, with our partners. If you abuse somebody, you can see that as a metaphor for going into the woods and just burning them down. And you can scale it way back to just when you interact with any person in the world, you would hope that you can leave them better than you found it. Just like you're going to leave the wilderness better than you found it. And we can hope that we can, you can hope that you can be like that every single day. You're going to leave your house and you're going to leave the world. When you go back to your house at night and you go sleep tonight, you can comfortably go to sleep saying, I at least left the world as good as I found it. I went into the campground of the earth, and every person I came in contact with, I did my best to make sure that I didn't burn them down. But I think what we see a lot in life is that there's people out there that their entire life is the equivalent of going into the woods and throwing out their dirty mattress. They go into the world, and they throw their dirty mattress into the world. By every person they come in contact with, they're treating them in a way that is the equivalent of them throwing their tires into the woods, of them throwing a lit cigarette out out of the window of their car and burning down the forest. That's how they live their entire life. They come in contact with the world with that style, with the thought that either they're not conscious enough to see that the damage that they're doing, or they're intentionally doing that damage, or it's just, they're not conscious of it. Because I guess that there's probably some people who go out into the woods and they throw out their dirty mattress and they think it's not a big deal, it's not, I'm not really doing that much damage. The trees are going to grow over it, and in 20 years, it's going to go away or something like that. Something in that level. So, because I can't imagine that you could go out into the woods and throw out a mattress and not be conscious of what you're doing. I guess that I can kind of imagine that you might be smoking a cigarette while you're driving and flick that cigarette out of your window and burn down a forest, and maybe not be conscious of that, because you might just think, well, that cigarette's going to just hit the pavement and go out. There's no way it could have possibly still been burning and burned down a forest. So I can kind of see how you could accidentally, maybe you're smoking and you're driving with your hand out the window and the wind catches and grabs that cigarette. So I could kind of see that being an accident, and you still could burn down a forest and devastate many, many lives. So on that equivalent of life, when you go out into the world, if you're casually meeting people and interacting with them at the same level as a human being who is driving with their hand sticking out the window, who might accidentally drop their cigarette into a forest and burn it down, you know, we've got to rise above that level of interaction with the world to where we are thinking about how much damage we might be doing, to where we wouldn't interact with people we meet on that level. And, you know, when we interact with somebody, the intention is to leave them at least at the same level as where we found them, and hopefully not leave them worse than we found them by, you know, going into a road rage incident, or even just by insulting them in some way that would push them down farther and make them less, you know, make them feel worse about themselves, to where that they, you know, they might be thinking about, you know, oh, this random stranger made me feel overweight or something or other, or he made me feel like a stupid person because he casually insulted me in such a way. So this is just, you know, a human being. Every human being deserves to be treated with that type of respect, the same respect that you would treat a hiking trail or a forest campground. If you are a conscious person, if you're a person who's conscious enough to not to be knowing what kind of damage you're doing, to know how wrong you are if you throw your tire into the woods, you're at the same level of consciousness to when you damage another person's life, or when you're conscious enough to know that if you flick your cigarette into the dry tinder of a hot forest in the middle of summer, that if you flick some sort of bad words or insult into a person who is at a certain position in their life where they are the equivalent of a dry forest in the middle of summer, and that insult can basically be a forest fire in their life, then you might burn somebody down, and you could burn down a lot of lives if you're not conscious of how you are interacting with the world all the time.